The Bhadreshwar Gold Cup, an initiative by the Lal Baba Rais. A huge round of applause for the Bhadreshwar Gold Cup to promote the community strength of football as we move forward to our panel supported by Lal Baba Rais, charting the revival and growth of Indian football. May we have on stage Debobroto Sarkar from East Bengal, ladies and gentlemen. Who better to talk about Indian football than Debobroto Sarkar of East Bengal? Nituda, can we have you on stage, please? Anthony Andrews, the person under whom East Bengal's women's team is undergoing a revolution as we speak. Can we have the coach on stage, please? Grishma Singh, Vice President, Coca-Cola, and Tomal Ghoshal, CEO, Shrachi Sports, because without the backing of sponsors, football is finding it and will find it a bit hard. And thanks to all our corporate sponsors for backing Indian football to the hilt, even during tough times. Thank you, Tomal. Thank you so much. Please take your seat. Chairman, Shrachi Sports, Tomal Ghoshal. And to moderate this session, may I call on stage Rahul Giri, Principal Football Correspondent, Rev Sports. And along with Rahul, of course, Boriada will be here.
বসে করবি না দাঁড়িয়ে করবি? বসে করবি? সব বসে করবি। Is it okay? Actually, Trisha's kind of coordinating because of broadcast, so that's why we had to move a chair up. You know, Kolkata's panel, tai first question in Bangla. Nituda, Anthony Roichen, we are talking about the revival of Indian football. We are talking about the way forward. আমরা অনেক কিছু নিয়ে আমরা ফুটবল নিয়ে পরশুদিনও আলোচনা করেছিলাম। আপনার ম্যাচ ছিল বলে আপনি আসেননি। I want to put that on record. Nituda would have come. He would have come. East Bengal was playing that day. That's why he couldn't come. Nituda, East Bengal and Kolkata, East Bengal and India. Ultimately, সে খেলা হোক চাই নাই হোক, that passion never goes away. আপনার সাপোর্টাররা কিন্তু কোনোদিন আপনাকে ছেড়ে যান না।
নমস্কার। সবার আগে আমি বড়িয়াকে একটা অনুরোধ করব, আমার পিছনে যে স্ক্রিনটা আছে ওখানে একটা ফুটবলারের ছবি নেই, অথচ আমরা ফুটবল ডেভেলপমেন্টের কথা আলোচনা করতে বসেছি। আমার অনুরোধ আগামী দিনে এটা যাতে আমরা ভুল না করি। আমি দীর্ঘদিন থেকে ফুটবলের সাথে যুক্ত বটে, কিন্তু কাউকে দোষারোপ করতে এখানে আসিনি। কারুকে দোষ দিয়ে নিজেকে ভালো সাজা যায় না। আমরা সবাই অপরাধী যে ভারতীয় ফুটবল যে জায়গায় ছিল তার থেকে অনেক নিচে তলানিতে ঠেকেছে। এর জন্য আমি বড়িয়াকে বলছিলাম, বড়িয়া নিজের পেশা জগতে বিশিষ্ট সাংবাদিক, আমি ওর প্রফেশনটাকে রেসপেক্ট করি। তা আমি এই জিনিসগুলোকে অ্যাভয়েড করতে চেষ্টা করি। কারণ হচ্ছে কোনো একটা সেমিনার করে বিশ্বাস করি না সেই জিনিসটাকে এগিয়ে নিয়ে যাওয়া যায়। তার জন্য রাস্তায় নামতে হয়, প্ল্যান করতে হয়, কাজ করতে হয়। কিন্তু ও আমাকে বলল যে তুমি তো কাজ খোঁজো, চেয়ার খোঁজো না, তা তুমি কেন যাবে না? বললাম ঠিক আছে, এটা একটা কাজ ভেবে আমি এখানে এসেছি। প্রথম আমার ভাবনা যে আমরা ফুটবলটাকে একটা শিক্ষা, যেমন আমরা এডুকেশান নিই ছেলেবেলার থেকে, আমরা 3 বছর 4 বছর 5 বছর বয়সে যখন স্কুলে ভর্তি হই, সিমিলার ফুটবলটার আমাদের ওই বয়স থেকে শিক্ষা নেওয়া উচিত, কিংবা আমাদের সরকারের এটা দেওয়া উচিত। প্রত্যেকটা ভারতবর্ষের প্রত্যেকটা স্কুলে ফুটবল সকার মাস্ট করা উচিত। এটা আমার অনুরোধ থাকলো বড়িয়ার মাধ্যমে, যে জায়গায় এটা বললে ইমপ্লিমেন্ট হতে পারে সেটা করা। দ্বিতীয়ত হচ্ছে যে এর পরের স্টেজটাই হচ্ছে যে আমাদের দেশ, বিশেষ করে বাংলা, কেরল, গোয়া, মহারাষ্ট্র, নর্থ ইস্ট, পাঞ্জাব, এই জায়গাগুলোতে আমাদের একাডেমি করা উচিত। যে একাডেমির ফসল আমরা দেশ পেতে পারি। তো আমরা এটা করি না, কিংবা ফুটবলে অর্থ দিতে এগিয়ে আসে না কেউ। তার থেকেও বড়, আমরা কেউ অর্থ দেওয়ার জন্য এগিয়ে আসুক তার বেসিক পরিকল্পনাও তাদের কাছে উপস্থিত করতে পারি না। এই ব্যর্থতাটা আমাদের আছে। আমি ইস্টবেঙ্গল ক্লাবের তরফ থেকে এটুকু বলতে পারি যে আমাদের এই ব্যর্থতা আছে, নাহলে আমাদের ক্লাবই বা সাফার করবে কেন। সিমিলারলি অল ইন্ডিয়া ফুটবল ফেডারেশন, যদি অতীত তাকানো যায়, অল ইন্ডিয়া ফুটবল ফেডারেশন যখন জন্ম হয়নি তখন কিন্তু ভারতবর্ষের ফুটবলটাকে রাজ করতেন বেঙ্গলে ইন্ডিয়ান ফুটবল অ্যাসোসিয়েশন, যেটা আইএফএ নামে পরিচিত। আমাদের হাতে দায়িত্ব দিক আইএফএ এবং ইস্টবেঙ্গল মোহনবাগান মহামেডান। আমরা ভারতীয় ফুটবলের পরিকল্পনার দায়িত্ব যদি পাই, তাহলে আমরা পরিকল্পনা করে রাস্তায় নেমে ইন্ডিয়ান ফুটবলকে এগিয়ে নিয়ে যেতে নেওয়ার জন্য চেষ্টা করব। এই প্রতিশ্রুতিটা আমি দিতে পারি আমাদের ক্লাবের তরফ থেকে এবং বাংলা আইএফের তরফ থেকে এই প্রতিশ্রুতিটা আমরা দিতে পারি।
I will quickly translate for Grishma. 2 points that you need to take from that. The one is, what is instructive for me is that you start football education in schools and the educational system. The second that he said, that accepting failure, that all of us are collectively responsible for where Indian football is at the moment, and we've got to collectively invest in taking Indian football forward. You did that, Grishma, and that's where kind of I want to come to you before I go to our other guests, and Rahul will take over after this. When that FIFA World Tour happened, you brought the trophy, as in Coca-Cola brought the trophy to India. I was hosting that in Delhi. Very pleasantly for me, you came up to me and I talk straight. She comes up to me before the program and says, need to have a word. And I said, yes. And she says, we are investing in the under-17 Indian football team that has qualified for the AFC Asian Cup. I was stunned. You could have said, I'm investing in East Bengal. I'll get millions of fans. Mohanbagan, millions of fans. You said to me, under-17 women's team which has qualified. And then, during the show, I am given a script when I'm doing a FIFA program. It was her program. And I was following that script. All of a sudden, they came up on stage and said, with the FIFA legend, 2 under-17 girls to come on stage. Those girls started crying. Grishma, tell me about this. It changed lives.
Yeah, I don't think it's an evening any of us will forget that one. Belief in sports, I think for Coca-Cola is part of our DNA. Believing in it as sort of a cultural force that inspires and shapes lives around the world, particularly amongst the youth. And so football we've been watching with a lot of passion. Of course, there's a lot of followership around the world, but in India also, it's picking up a lot due to the efforts of a lot of people, I think, sitting around me as well. So for us, it was about inspiring, yes. So we bought the FIFA trophy back after 12 years. We were able to take it to 30,000 fans, Delhi, Guwahati. That was inspiring. And that's kind of the macro. But I think this is what you and I talked about then as well, Boria, that as important as the macro is the micro. And what makes football, I think, a particularly rewarding space to invest in today is that the investment made today is going to absolutely fundamentally change the future of the sport, particularly for women. And the under-17 women, why? I think because we knew exactly that inspiring at that grassroots level, giving them what they need to make it to the next level would make a real difference to them. And there was this moment, we had Julian and Elizabeth standing there, and Gilberto Silva, showed why he's a legend. He was standing next to the trophy, and they were kind of looking at him like wanting to be closer. And in a moment, he stepped and put one of them closer to the trophy. And I think as they looked at that trophy with clear excitement, but also a belief that they could get there someday, it was a pretty special moment for us all, and not one I'll be forgetting anytime soon.
I think 2 of our speakers sum it up really well, where our Indian football stands right now. Obviously, our men's team are going through a disappointing run, but at the same time, women's football, has given us all hope. Going forward, there are a lot of positive in the women's football, and this has been an incredible year for them because all the three teams have qualified for the Asian Cup, And that brings me to my next question for Anthony Andrews, one of the most successful head coach in women's domestic football. Yeah, 3 titles for East Bengal in one season, so you can imagine. So, Coach, my first question, obviously, we are all disappointed with our men's football because recently our national team lost against Bangladesh, but at the same time, women's football in the Asian Cup, they have showed us that not much difference between India and teams like Vietnam and Chinese Taipei. So do you think when we see realistically, women's have better chance to qualify for the World Cup going forward?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us here. Absolutely. I believe that we have all our girls, even from under 17s to 20 and the senior national team. I think we all have that potential to take our country ahead. But at the same time, we need a lot of support from the stakeholders right now, to encourage these girls, to push them where they are, improve our grassroots, work on our development, have more number of competitive games under our belt. That is something which is very, very important for us. And I think if we have all this in place, the future is very, very bright. One thing to take away from this qualifiers or even to play the Australia tournament recently, we played this after a decade. And it's a massive achievement to take away this season, this year maybe, and even under 17 and 20 have done it. Support like what you just mentioned, I think Garima just mentioned the support of under 17, which shows that we are on the right track, and the support what you're doing with the national team with the under 17, they are the future. And if this keeps continuing and more people join hands, and I think we are good to go in the season.
Absolutely. And again, we'll come with a question of women's team in our next round, but we'll go to Tamal Ghoshal, chairman of Strachi Group. And it has been an incredible story with the Bengal Super League. First year, but I would say massive success. Tamal, the Bengal Super League, state league, I would say, because Kerala came with a state league 2 years ago. Now Bengal also coming forward with a regional league. At a time when our Indian football was going through an uncertainty, state league given an opportunity to a lot of local players, in Bengal football. Going forward, how do you think this kind of regional league can contribute in the growth of Indian football?
Yeah, thanks, Rahul Boria. I'll start with a little take from what Nituda just said, about grassroots. You are aware that the great Lothar Matthäus is the brand ambassador of the Bengal Super League. And when we brought him to Calcutta, and I was in the car as we coming back from a camp with kids at South City School, we were on Southern Avenue. He said, stop, stop, stop. There were about 20 kids in that boulevard areas of Southern Avenue who were kicking the football. And he walked down and he said, you know what? India is at a stage where all your coaches should be focused on coming and watching these people. You don't need to do anything. All our coaches should be spread to all the people playing football on such grounds. And your next talent will come from there. So this is what great Lothar Matthäus said. And it stayed as an imprint in my mind. And he said that is how football has progressed. But anyway, coming to Bengal Super League, Rahul, I think, there has been this focus on state pro leagues across the country. I think there are many, but I think Kerala Pro League and the Bengal Super League are the two which we can really talk about having reached some kind of scale. Our core objective, and I think objective of any pro league, is to ensure that the football goes to the grassroots, not the other way. Because the best talent is spread across different districts, different Mafasal towns and, para-urban areas. So the idea of the Bengal Super League, like any pro league, was to go and take the football there. You see, if you see the football, the way it's structured in any state, and including West Bengal, is the biggest league happens only in Kolkata. So the players have to come to Calcutta. Not all of them can break the barrier of their hometowns to come to Calcutta. Because it's a great big movement for a 16, 17-year-old guy to come to a new city, stay and play football over here. But in case if you can go there and you will be very happy because we are talking about monetization of sport, Boria, that we could actually sell production rights to ZTV. ZTV came, put money into the game. And they ran 61 matches in prime time across 2 channels, including the OTT. So these players got an opportunity to be seen on TV. Once you get seen on TV, people will see how you perform. It's a cycle. So the idea is that you take football back to the grassroots. Once you've taken to the grassroots, the talent which is there in the pool around that area, they will. So I would say year one, 61 matches, 48 days, all televised. Went spick and pan absolutely on time, people who followed it. Yes, Boria was there a few matches. Everything happened right on time. Thank you to everybody, including our footballing mentor, Nituda, for having even allowed East Bengal ground for matches. So football also came to Kolkata. And I have one more point to say that if Indian and Kolkata Bengal football has to go somewhere, football needs to come back to the Maidan. It is paramount that football comes back to Maidan.
Very good point.
Thank Nituda for giving us the opportunity and his effort to bring football back to the Maidan. So that's what I had to say, and I think that's what we want to do with the league in
I will attest to that because I went to watch, Rahul was with me, we went to watch the semi-finals, started dot on time, I watched the first half and then went and had fish fry with Nituda. But that's a different point. But I was there, I watched the games and people loved it. Incredibly competitive. Nituda,
just one small point, Boria, before I finish this. I can tell you the finals at Kalyani, he ran away because he had to go somewhere. It had the only other football match which could have got more people was the East Bengal Mohun Bagan Derby. There were 10,000 people for the BSL finals, which show what if you can get good structured football, there will be people coming to watch.
এটাই প্রশ্ন নিতুদাকে আমার দুটো প্রশ্ন এক আমরা বলি ভারতীয় কোচ তৈরি হচ্ছে না we need Indian coaches and then we make it mandatory for foreign coaches to be part of our leagues. Nituda, how is that even possible? Number 2, মোহনবাগান ইস্ট বেঙ্গল আজকে যদি দুটো গাছ মোহনবাগান আর দুটো গাছ ইস্ট বেঙ্গল পুঁতে দাও সেখানেও 10,000 লোক হয়ে যাবে খেলাটা দেখতে হ্যাভ উই মার্কেটেড দিস রাইভালরি প্রপারলি ইট ইজ অ্যাজ বিগ অ্যাজ বার্সা রিয়াল অ্যাজ বিগ অ্যাজ ম্যানচেস্টার ইউনাইটেড লিভারপুল অর এনি ফর rivalry for that matter have we marketed মোহনবাগান ইস্ট বেঙ্গল properly if we do I'm sure people like Grishma would want to put in money because there is ROI under 17 no but মোহনবাগান ইস্ট বেঙ্গল for sure
বড়িয়াকে কিছুতে মোহনবাগান নামটা পরে বলানো যায় না সবসময় মোহনবাগান নামটা যতবার আমার সাথে দেখা হয় আমি বলি ইটা আগে না এমটা আগে বলো ও কিছুতেই মোহনবাগান নামটা আগে পরে বলতে পারে না
এটা একটা গল্প আছে আমি তারপরে কিন্তু নিতুদা বলে না তোমার এটা ঠিক আছে আমরা উই আর বেস্ট ফ্রেন্ডস বাট উই আর ডিফারেন্ট ক্লাবস আমি মোহনবাগান সাপোর্টার নিতুদা ইস্ট বেঙ্গল ডাজন্ট ম্যাটার আমরা বসে ফুটবলের ভালো করব
না না ঠিক আছে শোন আমি এক্ষুনি বড়িয়াকে বলছিলাম এটা না এই ফুটবল নিয়ে আলোচনা করলে আমার মনে হয় 24 ঘন্টাও শেষ হবে না বহু কিছু আছে যেটা আলোচনা করা যায় যে অনিলাভ ওখানে আমি যখন বসলাম অনিলাভ বলল তুমি কিন্তু বেশিক্ষণ সময় নেবে না বেশি করবে না তোমারটা শোনবার জন্য বসে আছি বটে বেশিক্ষণ করবে না বলতে গেলে না অনেক কিছু কথা বলতে হবে সেগুলো খুব অপ্রিয় লাগবে এই যে বড়িয়া বলল আমার দেশে যে কোনো জিনিস শিক্ষণবিস্ত ফুটবলটা একটা শেখার জিনিস ছেলেবেলার থেকে গ্রাসরুট লেভেল থেকে আমরা 25-26 বছর ধরে আমাদের ক্লাবে একটা স্কুল আছে এই যে বিভিন্ন সময় বিভিন্ন জায়গায় দরবার করে আমরা বলবার চেষ্টা করেছি যে এবং স্টেট গভর্নমেন্টকেও বলেছি প্রাপ্তবয়স্ককেও বলেছিলাম যে প্রত্যেকটা স্কুলে সকার মাস্ট যদি করা যায় উনি কথাও দিয়েছেন করবেন কিছুদিন আগে মাস্ট না হলে দেশের ফুটবল এগোবে না সায়েন্স সেটা বলছে আপনারা আমাকে বুঝিয়ে দিন যে না আমি এটা ভুল বলছি মেনে নেব যে প্রশিক্ষণ তৈরি হচ্ছে আমাদের প্রশিক্ষকেরা তৈরি হয় অথচ দেখবেন আমাদের আইএসএল বলুন লিগ বলুন আই লিগ বলুন প্রত্যেকটা জায়গায় আমাদের ফরেন কোচ। আচ্ছা, আমার সমাজের কাছেই একটা প্রশ্ন, ভারতবর্ষে ফরেন কোচ এসে দুটো প্লেয়ারের নাম বলুন যে দুটো প্লেয়ারকে ভারতবর্ষকে প্রেজেন্ট করতে পেরেছে। অথচ আমাদের দেশে যারা শিক্ষিত হচ্ছে তারা বেকার বসে আছে। এই সিস্টেমটা কবে বন্ধ হবে? এবার আপনারা বলতে পারেন আপনারা করেন কেন? আমরা বাধ্যতামূলক, আমাদের পার্টিসিপেশন করলে আমাদের এগুলোকে মেনটেন করতে হবে। এই সিস্টেমটার বদল দরকার। এই সিস্টেমটা আমার মনে হয় সাংবাদিকরাই বদল করতে পারে, প্রপার জায়গায় যে সেই দরবার করা, সেই আলোচনা করা বলতে পারে। এটার যদি পরিবর্তন না হয় তাহলে খুব ডিফিকাল্ট। আমরা যেমন কিছুদিন আগেই আমরা একটা স্কুল অফ এক্সিলেন্স তৈরি করেছি। দেশের যে কোনো জায়গায়, যে কোনো স্কুল, যে কোনো কোচিং ক্যাম্প আমাদের কাছ থেকে যদি প্রশিক্ষণ চায়, সেই টেকনিক্যাল অ্যাওয়ারনেস আমরা তাদের কাছে পৌঁছে দেব। আমরা কিছুদিন আগেই সৌরভ গাঙ্গুলি স্বয়ং, সৌরভকে কেন দিয়ে উদ্বোধন করেছিলাম তার পিছনেও একটা ব্যাকরণ অ্যাটলিস্ট আমাদের ক্লাবের আছে। যখন ভারতীয় ক্রিকেটটা অন্ধকারে পরিণত হচ্ছিল, যখন পাকিস্তানকে দেখলেই ইন্ডিয়া হারত, তখন ভারতীয় ক্রিকেটের অধিনায়ক হিসেবে উনি নির্বাচিত হয়েছিলেন এবং উনি খুব তরতাজা কিছু খেলোয়াড়দের নিয়ে এসে তাদের ভিতরে ইনজেক্ট করতে পেরেছিলেন হারাটা লজ্জার, জেতাটা সম্মানের। তাই আজকে দেখুন ভারতবর্ষে ধোনি তৈরি হয়েছে, বিরাট কোহলি তৈরি হয়েছে, হরভজন সিং তৈরি হয়েছে, বহু খেলোয়াড় এরকম তৈরি হয়েছে, যুবরাজ তৈরি হয়েছে। একমাত্র সৌরভ গাঙ্গুলি এটার রাস্তা দেখিয়েছিল। আমরা যে আমাদের ক্লাবের সাফারিংস চলছে, আমরা কালকেই এটা আলোচনা করেছি। প্রয়োজন হলে সৌরভকে বলবো একদিন এসে আমাদের খেলোয়াড়দের তালিম দিতে, যে মাঠে লড়াই করবার মানসিকতা তৈরি করবার জন্য। যে আমরা রিসেন্ট পাস্টে সৌরভের থেকে আমি বহু খেলোয়াড়কে দেখেছি আমার জীবনে, আমার ফুটবল খেলোয়াড়রা, বন্ধুরা, ভাইরা দেখেছি। তো এই রিসেন্ট পাস্টে ওর থেকে বড় উদাহরণ আমার কাছে নেই যে ক্রিকেটটাকে যে জায়গায় নিয়ে গেছে।
Okay. So again, quickly, he's talking about soccer as a must. He's approached the government. The government has already kind of taken it seriously. Perhaps elections are coming in Bengal. It will depend on what happens. But he's had a favorable response. Secondly, he was talking about Saurav and the whole fighting aspect that he's brought into Indian cricket, which can continue to inspire football. When we are talking fight, and I see this women's football resurgence in India, Grishma, as a woman corporate leader, as somebody who stands for empowerment herself, can you tell me, when you look around sport, and just departing a little bit from football, Coca-Cola is into cricket, it is into Olympic sport, it is into Paralympic sport. We had Sumit Antil and Yogesh. I see our hockey leaders, Manpreet Sardar, absolute champions, former captains, you know, Manpreet 411 caps, we have Dilip. So when you see Coca-Cola's involvement, it's pan sport, and as a symbol of women's empowerment, your thoughts on what sport can do?
Look, I mean, I think there's two questions in what you're asking. One, you know, throughout the day, there's been a lot of discussion on the parallels between corporate life and sports and what one can learn from the other. I think definitely as a woman, you do identify, any woman in corporate will remember the person who took a bet or the person who invested, saw them through a failure or two and took a bet, right? So I think similarly, you have to do that with women's sport. That's why when we had the conversation on under 17 women's football, why specifically for that? Because someone has to take a bet for any woman to rise, be that in corporate or in sports. So that's the first part. The second part, when you talk about, you know, how Coca-Cola is fundamentally involved in sports, I think there's the one part which is the broad spectrum of involvement, like you said, right? Olympics, FIFA, Paralympics, hockey, for women as well, and now under 17 women's football. One part of it is definitely the passion and the pursuit of excellence of the player on the field and how you kind of drive and celebrate that. I think the other large part of it that we spend a lot of time on, and I think football will benefit from as it grows in India, is actually the fan ecosystem, because it is as much about the fan in the stands and how you make that experience meaningful. Today, live events are seeing a massive boom in the country, and while there is music, etc., sports is right up there. So I think small things we've learned along the way, we've done a lot with thumbs up, right? Be it, do you want to see the cricket from a stump, from the stump cam, to today, we've got the Tufani zone, you want to see it from a fan dugout. I think these things can also be done for fans of women's sport and fans of women's football, and it becomes a virtuous cycle. When you have the government, the player, and the fan kind of working together, I think that's when the magic happens.
So much so that, we even planned that it was their idea that when the Indian women's team travels, can we send a couple of fans and they can kind of document their experience. You remember that conversation? Just before Rahul asked Anthony and Tomalda, one housekeeping announcement. We will not take a break. You guys can pick out a thumbs up or a Powerade or water or coffee or whatever. There's coffee and tea served outside and Kit Kat. Our break was the Kit Kat break. You guys can get anything, and it's all free of charge. So just get that, come in. I'm not going to take a break because our speakers are there and the flow is going very well. I'm not going to break this session. Straight after, we'll move into hockey. Rahul, over to you.
I think that was really an important perspective by Grishma Singh, and I think we have already discussed about infrastructure, facilities, and corporate investment as well. But when it comes to sports, I think we should also need to discuss about fan support, and that's why I will go to Anthony Andrews, because recently when our Indian women's team was playing in Australia, particularly in the city of Perth, the attendance, I think there were only 10 to 15 Indians were present in the stands, and that shows the huge difference when it comes to women's sports and men's sport, because at the same venue, an year ago when Indian cricket team was playing Border Gavaskar Trophy, the stadium was fully packed. Okay, I won't compare cricket with football, but even if I compare with men's football, even in Qatar we have seen full packed stands for Indian men's team. So as a coach, head coach of women's team, how do you feel, Anthony, when you see this huge difference between fan support of men's and women's football?
Yeah, I was about to say that. A lovely question. But if you see, there's always a comparison between women's and men's, like you pointed out. There are a lot of fans who sacrifice their night outs or let's say even weekends to go and watch the men's game comparative to the women's game. But now it's improving and the change have been started. And for me, with the experience what I have in the women's game and coming here in Kolkata, I feel that the change have already started from the last season. Playing at the East Bengal ground, we have seen a massive turnover in our final game as well. And today also, when we play even our group stage games, we have seen a couple of fans coming, and that's the change. And I believe that the change starts from us, and what the club is doing at this moment to, to take this game at a different level, especially in women's game. Hats off to the media team who's doing an incredible job with East Bengal, putting this game ahead. The owners, the officials, I mean, without him, there's nothing, and the few of them are sitting there who make sure that, our life is easier in the team, and even the players enjoy this when we see turnovers, when we see the fans coming, and especially we as a team, we are, every single day, we just want to work hard for the fans because we understand that that we are in a club where we are the people who have to change, change the landscape or change the ecosystem of women's game so that more number of fans comes in. If people can go and watch the Perth in Australia, like you just mentioned, and we have seen a massive turnover there, why not here? So the change starts from here, and I believe that we have a long, long way to go, and we will keep on doing what we can do best for the country.
Before Rahul asks Tomalda the final question of this panel, Neetuda, you will be happy with this. This is one thing. I am a desperate, die-hard Mohun Bagan fan, but this is one thing I've got to say. East Bengal, as far as women's football is concerned, has taken a massive lead over Mohun Bagan. It's disappointing, and I'm putting this on record, wearing my journalist hat. It is disappointing that Mohun Bagan does not have a women's football team. It's disappointing, hurtful, and unacceptable.
Absolutely, I agree with Boria sir, but I will go to Tomalda now. I think it's a very important question because many says that CAPE, unprofessional football, act as a cancer to growth of Indian football. But at the same time, many says that unprofessional football is the, bread earner for many. But now, as they have come out with a new event, that Bengal Super League, Tomalda, do you think that this can, help us reduce that number? Because as we have already seen, Bengal Super League is going out in every district to scout more footballers. So, because we have seen in CAPE football or unprofessional football that many footballers, who have that potential to reach that high level, but they are getting inclined towards that CAPE or unprofessional football because that is the easy step compared to that hard step that they need to reach that high level. So, do you think Bengal Super League can help us to improve, to reduce that number?
Thanks, Rahul. But before getting to Rahul's question, I was trying to convince Krishma that she said, we are already supporting Mohun Bagan. And I was trying to convince her that your cycle is not complete unless you also start supporting East Bengal. And she said, it's duly noted, Nituda, to be noted. Coca-Cola, I've been trying to sell East Bengal to Coca-Cola because we are on the other side of Boria's divide. Anyway, that was in lighter vein, but she did talk about fan engagement, and it's one of the biggest fan engagements in the country, East Bengal versus Mohun Bagan. But anyway, coming to what Rahul asked, very critical question. But let's look at this. We talk about CAPE football and said that it is destroying players. But I think we must learn from CAPE football because what CAPE football or unorganized football in the districts has done is it's turned football into a celebration. Wherever you go, there is a celebration of football. Now, I don't think sport can survive without it being a carnival. Because some people, if you all of us have seen football in, let's say in the World Cup, only very little bit is the stadium. What happens outside the stadium is immense and unbelievable. Every country worth its salt would have a pavilion which will have people watching the football, people joining together. So I think CAPE has shown that it's possible. The negative side is killing the footballers because they are overworked, there is no insurance, they're injured, one ACL tear and it's gone. Their footballing career is gone. But, and I'll tell you an example with FC Midnapur in BSL to demonstrate this point. There is these two tribal boys, Love and Kush Hansta, These guys, and they were drafted into the Midnapur team. But they ran away one night literally to play CAPE football. And when we got them back, but sir, we play CAPE football for 3 months. It sustains us for the whole year. The family का चूल्हा तभी जल पाता है कि मैं 3 महीना CAPE खेल सकता हूँ. So look at the socio-economic story here. We need to learn from CAPE football. The idea is we must make football go round the year. See, I'll give you a Calcutta example. They play CFL for 3 months. What do they do after that? Not everybody progresses to the All India leagues. So they don't have anything. And the mess we've had this year, hopefully that'll get sorted from next year. So a BSL come with a 2-3 month window, so they'll have 6 months. And then some of them can progress. We have to give them livelihood. If they don't give livelihood, these boys will be lost. So I think it's not just Bengal Super League, but more local leagues, both at pro level as well as amateur level in the districts, which I think West Bengal has grossly failed in implementing. So we must have stronger leagues in the districts where player can play in the district so that they can get this. And see, you have to bring money unless you get money. So it's a cycle, money, corporate sponsorship, viewership, and finally the teams playing well. So if India starts playing well and we are back to 90, you just see the change which will happen. This is so critical, national pride. And we all have the 1983 story. Where did cricket really start? It's 1983. So I think story is that we must learn from CAPE. I take it a very positive. We must turn football, events of football into a carnival where everybody can come and enjoy, not necessarily football, but the atmosphere, like we see in Europe, like we see in South America, like we see in World Cup. I think that is the transition we need to make.
Fantastic. Each one of these panels that we've done today, they could go on and meaningful dialogue and discussion and charting the narrative. And that's why we thought we might as well produce a white paper, and our people will do that. Speak to the panelists and do that. A very heartfelt gratitude. নিতুদা আসেন না জেনারেলি এই ধরনের অনুষ্ঠানে আমি নিতুদাকে খুব একটা দেখি না আমি লাস্ট 6 মাস ধরে ওনাকে বলছি নিতুদা আসতে হবে ফাইনালি কেন যাবো বলো তো so that he was supposed to come on Saturday and a lot of people told me oh you printed his name he didn't come as if I was printing something wrong I don't do that ওনার খেলা পড়ে গিয়েছিল যে কারণে I told him I said তোমার খেলা পড়ে গেছে I understand that but you've got to come and he's there নিতুদা heartfelt gratitude. Anthony Andrews has transformed East Bengal. The multiple trophies that they won. And like I said, India is close. India is really close. If India plays the World Cup, it will be for women. Guaranteed. And Anthony is making a fundamental difference to that story. Tomalda, with the Bengal Super League, great concept. I know there is no ROI there yet. Rahul was supposed to be part of the next session. Tomalda will do that. These people are really investing in Indian sport, and that's where backing is needed. Great job. Grishma, over the years, last few months rather, she and we discuss sport in the morning, and I see an infectious enthusiasm growing for sport, whether it's football, whether it's cricket, whether it's other sport. Fantastic, and thanks very much for coming. When Rahul came to me 3 years back, he couldn't speak. Today, look at Rahul and how he is flowered as a journalist. That's what football does to you. Rahul goes to the Maidan every day. That's where you grow as a journalist. Ladies and gentlemen, Grishma Singh, Tomal Ghoshal, Anthony Andrews, and Debobroto Sarkar. Ogni, over to you. Ogni kothay? Baba, aye Baba? Acha, amari. Okay, round of felicitation. Manik Babu, please can I have you on stage for the felicitation? This session is supported by Lal Baba Rice. Manik Debnath, can I please have you on stage for the felicitation, please? And these are, by the way, folks, from the Lal Baba Rice stall,